What's up, YouTube? This is Pncollector here. And while one thing I gotta say is, well, it's been a while since I put up a video, and for one thing, I want to apologize for that because recently I've had a lot of things I've been going through, like a change in careers, have a lot to deal with things going on for what I'm gonna do for school, and then also just a lot of personal things going on in that. And I just want to let you guys know that I haven't forgotten any of you or any of my subscribers or anything like that. It's just I've been kind of looking for a new way to bring something out there to the table without kind of giving you guys the same thing that everyone else is doing. Just this past weekend, and that we just had a regionals that was originally supposed to be in LA, but went into Ontario for Ontario, California. And normally I'm a big fan of plants, but for this event I specifically chose to play Karakuri, and I've been playing the deck for about 2 months already. And everybody's kind of been asking me about what I've been doing with the deck and what have my choices and my ideas with it. Well, we had about an 8-round event. There was like 240 people plus, and I decided that I wanted to kind of play the deck because it's been in my mind for a while to use it, and I really like the way it plays out. It has a lot of different plays that most decks aren't really used to, and the way that the mechanics, the way the deck works, can be pretty explosive more than it's normally been. And right now I'll just go into the deck list. I ended up making top 4 with this deck. I even got like the regional mat and everything right there, so the new one with Ezadari. And I made top 4 with this. I played round 1, I played at least dragons. Round 2 was water synchro. Round 3 was plants. Round 4 was GBs. And all of those I beat so far. And then round 5, I played my friend Joe with samurais, and he ended up beating me because we went to game 3, and he top decked a giant Trunade, and I solemned it, and he solemned back, and I had like 5 back row with the Saison, and then that just didn't do me any good because he went off from there. But other than that, though, the deck performed very well. Right after that, I played Hero Beat. I beat a Hero Beat deck. Then afterwards, I played 3 Samurai decks in a row, and I beat all of those. So for the most part, it was a very interesting event, I could say the least. That the deck performed a lot well than I thought it was going to be. So let me go ahead and move on to the deck list for you guys to kind of get an idea what I was playing. So first off, I played 2 Cyber Dragons, 3 Karakuri Kamoichis, 3 Karakuri Merchants, 3 Karakuri Strategists, 1 Karakuri Watchdog Saison, 2 Quicks, and 1 Hype Up. And it pretty much was all the monsters that are standard 15. I played 3 Instant Fusions, 2 Machine Duplications, 3 Upstart Goblins, 2 Mystical Space Typhoons, 2 Karakuri Cash, Monster Reborn, Dark Hole, Book of Moon, Giant Trunade, 2 Trap Stuns, 2 Fiendish Chains, Royal Oppression, 2 Solemn Warnings, 1 Gozen Match, and 1 Solemn Judgment. Now on to the Synchros, an extra deck. 1 Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon. Since I main the 2 Cyber Dragons initially, pretty much this allows me to forward it. I might as well main it. That goes kind of with my philosophy. If you main the Cyber Dragons, it justifies maining the Chimera Tech. If anything, if you side the Cyber Dragons, you might as well put it in your sideboard. 2 Cybersauruses, Ally of Justice Catastor, 2 Naturia Beast, Brownak, Landois, 2 Karakuri Shoguns, Bures, 2 Burritos, 1 Stardust Dragon, 1 Scrap Dragon, and 1 Trishula. Okay, now on to the main concepts of why I picked this deck and the card choices. Again, Karakuri has always been kind of a deck I've been messing around with for a while, and I just kind of like the strategies behind the deck. I mean, especially one of my favorite cards I could say for the event was Kamoichi. She single-handedly, she can win you games, and the fact that she's not only a tuner, but the inclusion accompanied by the fact that she lets any Karakuri get an additional normal summon. So this helps with any synchro plays, this helps with additional normal summons with Merchant, and that's kind of one of the key factors, is that if turn 1 you open with Kamoichi, and if you even add something like Cash, or even if you have already a Merchant in hand, you can normal summon the Kamoichi and then drop the Merchant. And then from then on, the Merchant's effect will let you search out a Cash, and then you can use that Cash to search out any one of the Karakuris again. So instantly that helps thin your deck out by 2 cards, and gives it a really strong opening, because at that point 3 and 2 lets you make Naturia Beast at that point. So you can actually open up with a turn 1 Naturia Beast and give pressure to the opponent instantly. And that's amazing because this deck has so much draw power, in conjunction when you use cards like Instant Fusion and Machine Duplication to thin your deck out for monsters. Because when you use Instant Fusion and bring out a Cybersaurus, it's the machine that's necessary, that's 5 stars, combine with Komoichi to get out Burritos. And then once the burrito has hit the board, you can search out any of the Karakuris needed to continue a constant loop of summoning more and more monsters. Another thing included is the machine duplication. Now, machine duplication helps because there are essentially 3 targets full that you can dupe. It's Komoichi, Merchant, and Strategist. Mainly you want to dupe any of the types of tuners, either Strategist or the Komoichi, to do it. And then in conjunction with Instant Fusion, you can essentially synchro into about 4 monsters in one turn. You could drop a Burrito, then Beret, and then another Beret into another monster to either make a Nature Beast at that point. So your synchros can be anywhere from 3 to 4, depending on how many monsters. Of course, if you draw stuff like Monster Reborn, or if you use an effect to go off with Quick. Now, one reason what I liked about the deck too, my favorite cards of the deck, is Karakuri Quick. The ninja in this deck is amazing for the straight fact that if you sync any of your 4-star monsters with either Komoichi or with Strategist, and you bring out Bure instantly lets you bring out a Karakuri from the deck. Thus is when you bring out Quick, when you can kill a monster in defense mode. So if a monster is too large for you to kill on attack, using Bure's effect, you switch it, and then Quick will be able to kill it in battle, special summon another Karakuri monster if need be, and you can synchro again into another key monster like another Bure, if at all possible, or even a Landois to help clinch locks against certain monsters. Now, what I really liked about that too was that, say in a turn where a monster is in defense mode, you summon Quick. You can have Quick attack that monster, and if you have a Komoichi in your graveyard, you can special summon that Komoichi, and then her effect can be applied, which you're allowed to now normal summon additionally a Karakuri. And there are many instances where I drew merchants like that. So I had a merchant I don't want to make live yet, so I summoned Quick, killed a monster, got Komoichi, and then I was able to drop merchant. And at this point, you can synchro with Komoichi, and you can synchro with Quick, drop a Bure, and then the Bure will let you special summon another Karakuri, so you bring out like another tuner, like a Strategist or even another Komoichi, and you can sync the Merchant with the Strategist, and then from there, or even the Komoichi with the Merchant, and then you can special summon a Nat Beast. So with Nature Beast and Bure together, you kind of shut down the spell aspects, and if your opponent cannot play safe in defense mode because of Bure switching positions. So this allows you to put heavy pressure on your opponent. Not to mention too, like I said, with all the searching cards like the Upstart Goblins, I mean, you can pick either Upstarts or Dualities. It's your personal preference. I ran Upstarts for the event because I really didn't care whether or not I wanted to affect Duality that much, but both cards work really well. It can be either or, but I guess this can follow the same concept of which Samurais do. They're trying to filter for that strong opening, and this is what the deck's supposed to do, is filter for a strong opening. Now, a lot of people are probably going to be questioning about the trap cards. Now, what I liked about this more was that if you set up with Nature Beast, the only thing you're afraid of is monster effects and trap cards. Now, essentially, this deck is a big combo deck, but it needs to go off in a sense that it can't have any restrictions. So with Trapstun, 2 Trapstuns help pretty much seal the deal. When I played against GBs, a guy said like 5 back row. It was the perfect card needed for that situation, and it allowed me to go off with 3 synchros and then make a Stardust in the end phase of it. So it really helped a lot that I had the Trapstuns in the deck, and it really did play a difference. I originally had 7 tools. I do prefer 7 tools, but Trapstun for this situation, for this tournament, actually helped, so I can't argue with the card to begin with. More or less, I have to say it's based on a preference. What I liked in the deck was 2 Fiendish Chains. I already played Water Synchro, and once you pretty much have Nature Beast with Fiendish Chain, there's very little outs they have to that, especially since it guarantees certain locks. And I really liked Fiendish Chain because essentially anything like a monster effect wise hurts this deck a lot. So your key plays are always going to be something of benefiting from Fiendish Chain or benefiting from Netria Landois. And I can say Landois guaranteed, hands down, was my MVP of the day. This card single-handedly won me a strong matchup up against Plants, and I was able to ride the turtle basically to victory. With so many spells in the deck, this card is so live, and it's never dead at all. It's actually one of the main factors of the deck why it's so good. And since you're able to make it so easily from any of these monsters, it's quite amazing why this card is so good for that reason. It's 2350, so it's just enough to deal with sorcerers. It shuts down even things like opposing Veilers, so if you're worried about your combos going off and kind of getting interrupted, it's the perfect turtle for the job. Of course, what I liked especially about this was the inclusion of Gozen Match. Now, originally the deck that this is based on the national champion, I think from Peru, I'm not exactly sure. But he originally ran 2 of them, and I didn't feel that 2 would be completely necessary because there are deck types that really don't care about single types, just like X-Sabers, and it's to say like any pure deck that runs one element altogether. So Gozen doesn't exactly shine as high, but if you play against certain matchups, like even GBs to an extent, you can shut down key plays before they're ready for them. So that's kind of like the one of is like a good element of surprise, and that's kind of what I really liked about the deck, is that it had all those little surprises that it could do things with. And you know, it fairly did really well, especially against Water Synchro. I had like 2 Naturia Beasts to Bure and 4 back row, and one of them was like a Fiendish Chain, and the other one was a Gozen match. And your deck is all Earth, and you can sink it row into most of your monsters being Earth, and that kind of really does help the deck out a lot, because even if you instant fusion for Cybersaurus, he's also Earth and doesn't get affected by the key condition. Now, one reason why the Gozen's also in there is because when your opponent drops a Cyber Dragon, you Gozen match them, they cannot Chimeritic Fortress, because Chimeritic Fortress is a dark, of course. So that means you're protected instantly from a Cyber Dragon. And that's kind of another thing that's been this deck's big weakness, is basically Veiler and Cyber Dragon. And that's why like Gozen helps with the Cyber Dragons, and according to what I put in my side deck at the moment, this is what pretty much helped me. 2 Puppet Plants, 2 Effect Veilers, 2 Fossil Dyna Pachycephalos, 2 Debunks, 2 Royal Oppressions, 2 Bottomless Trapholes, 1 Gozen match, 1 Mirror Force, and 1 Crossout. Now, what I liked about this the most from this deck was the Puppet Plants, of course. They help. They help against 6 Samurais, and that's kind of what I feel to be one of the tougher matchups for this deck. And with them, yeah, it did amazingly well. The Effect Veilers, I didn't side deck at all. I probably will end up switching those out, probably for a 3rd Puppet Plant and another card. I felt them to be really unnecessary, especially with Landois in the deck. Fossil Dynas, I sided these in against pretty much a lot of decks that special summon plants, GBs, everything. And combined with your trap lineup, it pretty much allows you to become like an anti-meta Earth stun deck, and it's actually really cool, and I really like that card a lot. One card I really liked for the end was Debunk. This card is simply amazing. This card helps with all the weaknesses you have, and against like Effect Veilers, Frogs, Sangins, Searchers, anything like that, Debunk really does become the answer for a lot of the weaknesses from this deck, and it was amazing. I'm glad I sided these, and these were really amazing. Decrees, I did run these against like Sams. It helped for a little bit, but I really just tested it in and out. I really didn't like it, but it's an option. It's not bad at all. Probably would, if anything, be like 7 tools if it really needed to be, but overall, it's okay. 2 Bottomless Trapholes, again, helps with the anti-meta element, and really good use. The second Gozen, like I said before, it does help out with certain matchups, and Mirror Force is for like the stun, and Crossout is just for the generic decks that set a lot. I mean, for the most part, like I said, I really like this deck. Karakuri is probably one of the few decks I gave in mind that I can kind of relate to what Plant is, because the options are there. You just, as a player, need to see them. Note cards I didn't play was the Karakuri Castle nor Karakuri Anatomy, and I do like those cards. I think they're really good for this deck as well, but for this event, like how I was feeling towards Anatomy, I felt it to be a little too slow. Something like Limiter Removal is another good card that can be put into here, but then again, it's one of those win setup cards. You don't always have that, and I felt it to be more deadweight than anything. But it is a great card though, and does help the deck out a lot. But overall though, like I say, I'm very happy with this. Even the extra deck for that matter, everything I used. Even Catastor at a point, because Catastor is a machine as well, and if you sync it with one of the level 3 tuners, it helps you make your Burrito too. And again, searching your deck for your monsters with all the synchro monsters really does help out a lot. The deck is able to show that it can have consistency through different various situations, and that's why I really played it. So if you guys have any questions or anything, be free to PM me. Let me know what you guys think of it, and like I said, I top 4 with this at Ontario Regionals in California. So if you guys have any questions, this is Pncollector here, logging out.